Hey everyone, welcome to Brilliant But Lazy. I had to remember what show we're doing. Welcome to Brilliant But Lazy. We are your Marvel correspondents for Victims and Villains. I'm Alan.
And I'm Josh. It's been a minute. We've tried to do this show a couple times, but had several obstacles this week. So
Yes.
you were sick, and then I had some things, and then we've been wanting to talk about Ant-Man 3 for a while, but things just kept on coming up.
Yeah, the biggest thing that came up for me was I didn't get to see it until last night. We're recording this on Thursday, the 23rd. I didn't get to see it until Wednesday. I did the math. This is the first Marvel movie that I have not seen opening weekend since The Incredible Hulk. So
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah.
And I've had a week to gestate on this, so
I've had about 24 hours to gestate on this, and it's gonna be an interesting conversation. Before we get into Ant-Man and the Wasp, you want to talk a little bit about some Super Bowl trailers that, since we're on the topic of Marvel, there were some Marvel superhero movies that dropped some trailers at the Super Bowl.
There was one. There was the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I saw again in the theater tonight. I just got out of Cocaine Bear and saw that trailer. It was good. It's got the same vibes as the first trailer. I thought, I think it gave a little more of the story away. My theory is that in the first trailer they show up to this planet that kind of looks like Earth, that has a lot of animals that are sentient and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that was probably where Rocket was like meant to go, or maybe he was like the start of that or something like that. So I am interested. I think it was a good looking trailer. It didn't get as much buzz as the DC trailer that happened, but
The other thing for Guardians that they released was a new poster, and I think I said immediately after they released it, I do not like the poster at all. Even Karen Gillan has criticized her pose in the poster. She's like, "What am I doing here?" Because she has her arm up. She's like, "I'm just gonna start doing this pose randomly."
I'm gonna bring it up again because I can't. It's very chillax.
Maybe I just love the teaser poster that they did so much because I have it from Disney and I put it in my light box and it just looks beautiful. And then that one, I'm like, I have no desire to get that. But you mentioned the other trailer that got all of the buzz, which was The Flash.
The Flash, the first trailer for this film that's been delayed so many times people were starting to think it didn't exist.
Yeah.
It was drowning in controversy last summer. They've definitely waited till the last second to start advertising this film and it has been a minute since Ezra's been in the news, but man, they were holding out till as long as they could to start advertising this. What did you think of the trailer?
They really were. I love the trailer. Once a certain someone shows up, I was like, I know he was going to be. There were rumors that he might have been cut from the movie. I was like, if the movie's what they were saying it was going to be, there's no way that you can cut him. But I'm talking, of course, about Michael Keaton's Batman.
Stiff-necked Michael Keaton's Batman. Yeah. Still stiff to this day. I want to see a scene where it's just Alfred and as the chiropractor and just helping him out with his neck after all these years.
Yeah.
But he's in it. He does his line. They gave a pause for effect. I'm Batman. And then, of course, we see Batfleck back as well and looking better than ever. I love Ben Affleck as Batman, and this looks like the send-off.
Yeah.
The whole film looks like a send-off. I mean, I don't know if they always intended for this to be it, but it's not directed by Zack Snyder, but it certainly feels like it's going back to the first movie of the Snyderverse and kind of capping things off. So I loved seeing Zod again. I loved the vague but general premise of this trailer that the Flash did something, and now there's nobody to protect the Earth when Zod shows up.
Yeah.
It's cool. It was neat. I like it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. There's been some controversy online about supporting this movie because of Ezra Miller, and all valid points. Like, if you don't want to see this movie because of him, like, that's a completely valid opinion to have. I'm of the stance of the film is bigger than one person. I do not condone anything that Ezra Miller has done that is against the law. But I'm still going to go see the movie.
I think that I'll be interested to see, because I thought that I knew those things were going to be said. I thought the voices were at least I haven't heard it as much as I heard it last summer. You know, last summer it was like every couple of weeks we were hearing about something else. He was involved in several different cases, all of which have either been settled, or there's one where he's pretty much on probation for pending whether or not he does anything else. But everything else has been settled. So I mean, there was a lot of chatter back in the summer. I'm sure I could find it on Twitter, but it just wasn't as loud. Now I'm sure they'll have their day in June or May, whenever this comes out. But I think like with most things, unless Fox News picks it up or something like that, the majority of folks that go to the movies don't pay attention to the behind the scenes and the drama as much. So unless it gets picked up by the news again, I think this movie is set to make a lot of money.
I think it is too, but there were a lot of voices on TikTok in particular that I saw addressing it and like talking about their opinions, which more power to you.
Well, sure. I mean, TikTok TikTok is the same place where they were like bashing people for playing the Harry Potter game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% pro having your opinion. I don't like targeting other people for having fun.
Yeah.
Now, if someone specifically says, I'm going to go see The Flash because I like to hear about lead actors choking women in a bar, then that is an issue. But I don't like it when people target other people just because they're trying to enjoy something.
Yeah, so. Don't take away from somebody else's enjoyment.
Yeah. But as far as the trailer, it was a solid trailer. It looked really interesting. Sasha Cal as Kara, she looked great. It definitely seems like they're using that part of Flashpoint with the decrepit, small Superman, but it's Supergirl this time. Not landing in Kansas, but the U.S. government getting a hold of them and then putting them away in a dark cellar for forever. And so it looks really cool. I'll definitely be there for it. And people still talking it up. It's going to premiere at CinemaCon in 2 months, and we'll see what the reactions are out of that. But apparently, I have yet to hear somebody say that they came out of this movie and that it wasn't amazing. So we'll see. We'll see.
The other thing that I thought we were going to get a trailer for, and it makes sense that we did it now, was the Marvels, which just got pushed back from July to November. But we did get a cool
about this.
Yeah, we did get a cool poster though.
So many Marvel things are getting delayed or pushed back. So Echo is apparently in major jeopardy. They're they're figuring out what Star Wars kind of figured out a little bit ago, was that, hey, if we're pushing probably too much content, we need to slow down. Our cutting corners thing isn't working and people are starting to notice, so we got to slow down. So all those dates that Kevin Feige put up, all those projects it's supposed to be released between now and 2025, I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, they're saying for sure that we're only going to get 2 Marvel shows this year, Secret Invasion and Loki.
I think those are, I think those are the for sure ones coming out, for sure.
Yeah, but I also think that they're just not including What If in that mix because it's animated. So, and I think we're supposed to get X-Men 97 this year as well.
Yeah.
So
where the hell is Armor Wars? Come on, Armor. I've been waiting for that for years. I want to see some more Brody out there.
Supposedly Secret Invasion leads into it, so.
Wait, did I say Brody? It's Rhodey. Yeah. Yeah, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. He
I
is
mean,
involved in that movie.
if you want more Brody, I know Kevin Smith's working on Mallrats too. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
enough about everything else that's not out yet. Let's talk about something that's out, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is the third entry into the Ant-Man franchise. Directed by Peyton Reed, starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Jonathan Majors, Catherine Newton, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, and Bill Murray for 5 seconds. So you got to see this opening weekend. How packed was your theater?
I mean, I didn't go. It's an Ant-Man film, so I didn't pay for a premium screen. I went to see it in IMAX, but at the FOMAX down the street, and there's never a crowd in there. However, there was still a good amount of people. So I went to a Thursday night screening, and had I gone to one of the more, I did see that there were more seats at the nicer screens, but I didn't know. I went into it as open-minded as possible and the least of least expectations, so I specifically didn't pick a premium screen. But I mean, there was a decent size crowd there for sure.
I went on a Thursday afternoon, not opening night, so it was like a bunch of teenagers. Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, I don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
Wednesday afternoon, bunch of teenagers just scattered throughout the theater, just making out the whole time, and it's just me there with my pretzel bites, just watching the movie.
Nice. At least you're watching the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I only went for the show. I did it for the podcast. What did you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Spoiler-free thoughts first.
Spoiler-free thoughts.
I, like I said, I went in with very, very little expectations. I'd seen one trailer for this. I had avoided everything else since the first main trailer. I have not seen any of the TV spots or anything like that. I came out entertained, pleasantly entertained. It's not a great movie, and as I think of things, I definitely have gripes about the film, but I came out hopeful and excited about the future of the MCU. And I think I told you this, that I haven't felt that way at the end of a film in a while. We've had a lot of standalone films in Phase 4, and that, is, I guess, by design. But I didn't come out of, even Spider-Man No Way Home, that was very much a contained Spider-Man film. It didn't really give a lot of the future for the MCU. Doctor Strange 2, Black Widow, Eternals, Thor, Love and Thunder. I didn't walk out of those films super satisfied or excited about the future. And I at least walked out of Ant-Man saying, wow, I didn't expect them to do some of the things they did, and I really loved the villain, and I'm really looking forward to what's coming that was teased in this film. And so that was enough for me for an Ant-Man film. I can't remember what Ant-Man 2 was, and so I didn't really know what to expect from this film, and I had a good time. I'm not trying to defend the film, because once we get into spoilers, I do have some gripes to talk about, but I wanted to be entertained, and I came out. I would go see it again, and there's a few films in Phase 4 that I have not seen twice, and I don't plan to.
Yeah. I think I'm right there with you. Like, I enjoyed this film. It's a lot of fun. I'm quicker to watch this one again than I am Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's very fast paced. It gets right into it, right into the story, which I enjoyed. There are elements from the other two Ant-Man movies that I miss, mostly characters, but with the story you're telling, you can't really address all of those things in the short time span that this film has. I think the villain was fantastic. Paul Rudd is Paul Rudd, so but it was nice having an Ant-Man movie that had some stakes to it.
That was
instead of just being a fun popcorn flick. It actually had I didn't know if Ant-Man was going to make it out of this alive going into it.
Mm.
And I won't go into if he does or not, but like you do, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, it was a safe bet that he was going to be okay. This one, I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like it could go either way, which is a weird thing for an Ant-Man movie. Like these are heist comedies.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what else I can say spoiler free, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, the movie is bonkers. It's definitely interesting, and you can't dive too deep into it without spoilers. So
yeah, well,
I would recommend somebody sees it if you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I hear a lot about this got one of the lowest critic ratings out there. I don't know what the viewer. I'm just gonna pop over to Rotten Tomatoes right quick.
Now, before we get into spoilers, I have a without getting into specifics, a lot of the comments I've seen online have been about the special effects. Was that one of the issues that you have with this movie?
Yeah, I mean that's not very spoilery. I did think that.
I cannot hear you.
Oh no, I can hear you just fine.
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna not touch anything on the internet while I talk to you. I did hear. I did see that there was some. There was some CGI that was kind of wonky at times, and there was definitely some shaky cam that, when combined with the CGI and the volume environment, at times I was like, I can't tell what's going on. Someone's punching somebody, someone's running away from something. I can't tell. That was mostly in the beginning, when they were showcasing all like there's all these different types of people in the quantum realm, and then all craziness, chaotic stuff happens at once. And so I was like, please don't be the whole movie like this, because I can't. It's too much, and I think it definitely balanced out later. But yeah, I thought there was definitely some CGI that was wonky, or maybe it could have been rendered a bit more for me. But what did you think?
I didn't think it was bad. I didn't see it in IMAX though, and the screen that I saw it on probably wasn't the brightest. But I thought it was fine. Like I definitely don't think it was as jarring as the floating head in Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah, sure.
But there was a news story today where one of the special effects artists has come out and said that priority was taken with Wakanda Forever, and they kind of got the short end of the stick on Quantumania because they put Marvel put all the big guns on Wakanda. So
I've heard that with a few films this year, actually. So that makes sense. Yeah.
But it makes me wonder if that's why they pushed back the Marvels a bit, is to give it more time. So we'll see.
I heard it's also plot changes. I heard it's more than just post-production stuff with that one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I'm honestly not surprised. When you're writing the sequels to these movies, you might want to go back and make changes to things, and that's been Marvel's thing since the beginning. So
yeah, Feige has said that a few years ago, that now they purposely schedule room for reshoots for that specific reason. Hey, we decided we need to go in this direction. Now, when I hear that, I'm like, good, you're thinking ahead. But also, I'm like, so do you just limit your writers to make the story so vague that you could change it? They're not allowed to write it so much, to where, because if you're just able to go in there and be like, we need to do some reshoots and change the third act, then how solid of a story was it to begin with? But I mean, I guess that's a broader issue. But yeah. That's part of the schedule now, is to allow time for reshoots for that reason.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to get into spoilers then?
Let's do it.
All right. Where do you want to start off with spoilers?
Let's talk about. Let's just do the general plot.
Okay.
I mean, it was, the trailer showed us that they're sending a beacon, or they're sending a signal down to the quantum realm, and suddenly what's her name, Janet, Michelle Pfeiffer's character was like, don't do it. What I liked was this little they kept on shooting back to what Michelle Pfeiffer did while she was down there. And we got a little bit of, okay, she knew Jonathan Majors Kang a little bit, and then it cuts off from that. Like, you see her, like, rescue him, or him rescue her, in the very beginning. And then we have this build-up for the first, like, maybe 20-25 minutes of, she has a reputation down there, and people don't like her. And Kang has a reputation, and they're not naming him by name. But I really like that build-up, you know. They're not just exploring the quantum realm, but like people know who she is, and she has this history, and I like that mystery of it. I thought that was really cool plot build-up, you know, for the character.
Yeah, they did a good job of balance. For me, it went on a little bit too long. Like, I think the not naming Kang was fine, but like it felt repetitive every time they said him.
It did. After a while, it did. Especially since I mean, we've all seen the trailer. Yeah,
and he's on the post. He's on all of the posters.
Mm-hmm. But Bill Murray's scene when he's like, you don't even know who she is or what she did or you know the lives she's impacted. All of a sudden, it's like, wait, is Janet a bad guy? You know, like what? Yeah. Why does everybody hate her? I loved that scene. It was a very much like intrigue and like, you know, purposely not telling the whole story, and I thought that was a cool scene.
Yeah, it made me appreciate Michelle Pfeiffer's character in these movies a lot more because she hasn't really had a chance to do much. She shows up at the end of number 2, and then she's in Endgame for a second, but beyond that, there hasn't been much. They actually gave her something to do in this. I thought her chemistry with Michael Douglas was fun. Like every time it cut back to the two of them, I was like, I could watch. I want to see a whole movie of them as Ant-Man and Wasp, but we're never going to get that.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me that nobody asked her to come back as Catwoman for the Flash movie because she is just Michelle Pfeiffer's on fire. She was one of the stars of this film, and she looked it, she acted it, she had a lot of energy with her. Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't say they didn't ask. You don't know.
Well, maybe I don't know.
Maybe they did ask, and maybe she's in it. Maybe she's not.
Maybe that'd be great.
So, the other character who sticks around with them a lot is Hope, who, for being a title character of this movie, doesn't have much to do.
Well, I told you a theory about why I thought that ended up not being the case. I thought that Cassandra was going to be the new Wasp, you know, the daughter. Because I told you, I was like, the trailers are calling this Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it doesn't seem to be much about the Wasp. And I feel like that was just, you know, they can't have Ant-Man and the Wasp as Ant-Man 2 and then cut the Wasp out of the title. But really, I mean, they gave her a couple scenes, and she is in the movie, but it didn't feel like an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. It felt like an Ant-Man movie and side characters. So I you know, I know why they did it, but it kind of did her a disservice to be in the title and then really not have a strong part of the movie.
Yeah, because they kind of just make her the girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
and she does have some action scenes.
She does.
I'll give them that. But that's what she is, and she's the girlfriend and not the co-lead, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But they did give Cassie some time in this. And you know, Catherine Newton, she was the role was recasted for this. I thought she did fine. I didn't have any issue with her character. What I do have issue with, this was one of my biggest gripes, and it's not just Ant-Man. It's this force feeding of child geniuses. When Iron Man came out, and I'm not trying to be like, it was better back in the day, but when Iron Man came out and Tony Stark built that suit, it was special. You know, it was something that it felt like only he could do. And the only reason Obadiah could do it was because he had this team that kind of jerry-rigged based off of Tony Stark's plans. You know, they could have never done it themselves. They said so as much.
Yeah.
Now we have teenagers in a freshman in college building her own Iron Man suit in Wakanda Forever. We've got this girl who's 16, I think, in Ant-Man 3, building portals to the Quantum Realm, and it's just like, I get it, they're setting us up for this younger future Avengers thing, but it just doesn't feel as special if every teenager is a genius.
Can I offer an in-universe explanation for it?
Sure.
My own little headcanon. So
Okay.
in Captain America Winter Soldier, all of Shield's files got released. So all of their personnel files, all of their information on agents, Hydra, all of their blueprints. So like you have access to all of these files, expanding the world of science and resources for kids to research. And Cassie even says in this, like, I had 5 years of you gone if I knew where you were. Like, I also think part of it for her in this is she's not doing it alone. She has Hank helping her, the guy who created.
Yeah, but he kind of goes out of his way to say, your daughter built a satellite to the quantum realm. You know, he didn't say, like, she was a good helper. He made it seem like I was just here to watch, you know.
Yeah, but she has those resources.
I guess.
Like she has Hank and Hope as resources, and like all of the Pym Tech stuff. But I also think the world has changed so much. Like it can't really compare this world that they're in to ours, because Iron Man does change everything. Like from that point on, it's a whole different world. Like there's stuff out there that maybe like you have kids who want to learn this stuff, and if your dad's Ant-Man, you're gonna be enthralled in that and want to learn it all. So
sure. I'll give you that. There are the coding classes for first graders, but I'll give you that. Michael Pena was not in this film. I know that was probably one of the characters you said were missing. I loved him in that's the only part I do remember from Ant-Man 2. I think he's great. I think the director came out and said it's not that we didn't like Pena, it's that this film is so much not in where Pena is that we just didn't have a role. We didn't have a purpose for him. I mean, sure, he could have done like the opening, recap thing, but it made sense for Scott to do it because he was reading from his book, and then the end caps just kind of copying what they did in the beginning of the film. So I did miss him, but it's also Paul Rudd, and anytime Paul Rudd is speaking to camera and doing something funny while you're listening to him, it's enjoyable. So I get why he wasn't there.
Yeah, but, I get why he wasn't there either. And if we're not going to get them, I'm at least glad we got a little bit of Jimmy Woo.
We did, like just a flash of them doing the card thing, but it was nice.
Yeah,
it was nice. Before we get to the main guy, we got another return from the first movie. Corey Stoll returns. I wanted to. So, are you a big M.O.D.O.K fan? Like, I wanted to get your thoughts on their choice for M.O.D.O.K.
I went into this movie not a huge fan of M.O.D.O.K. I've been meaning to watch the M.O.D.O.K show on Hulu with Patton Oswalt. I liked him as the villain in the Avengers video game that they released a few years ago. But I didn't go into this a huge M.O.D.O.K fan.
Mm-hmm. I have no history with M.O.D.O.K, so I didn't.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But I walked out of this movie a huge M.O.D.O.K fan.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes, I know enough about M.O.D.O.K in the comics and in other materials to know that this character was never going to translate well to live action.
Of course. But
They
took
they
it in
did
an
it.
interesting direction.
They did it, and in my opinion, it is the best way that you could have done M.O.D.O.K to begin with. If you're going to put M.O.D.O.K in live action, this is how you do it. You address the silliness. Like, you couldn't do this in an Avengers movie. Like, this would feel out of place if they saved it for Kang Dynasty. But when you have him going off on his monologue and Ant-Man's just like, wait, Darren? Like, it makes sense. Like, if you're going to take it the silly route, do it in an Ant-Man movie.
And it's surrounded by so much silly stuff that it's in an environment that accepts it. Yeah.
If you're going to call the movie Quantumania, you have to have some mania. And
sure,
M.O.D.O.K's ass cheeks is the mania that we didn't know we were going to get.
Yeah, I wasn't meant to be invested in the character. I didn't really care for him. I thought this was just kind of, and they just kept on revealing his face, and I'm like, oh, we get it, I get it, he's cooler. I just, show me M.O.D.O.K's face again. But I did like his death. His death was hilarious. He says a couple lines, but then his last line is like, and at least I died an Avenger. And I did crack a smile at that. I thought that was fun.
So every time that he took off the mask and revealed his face, I just started giggling. I'm pretty sure the teenagers in the theater looked at me like, what is this guy on? I wasn't on anything. It just was so silly. And him yelling, my name's Darren and I am not a dick. Like,
yes, that's a mantra to live by.
It's a mantra to live by. Yeah, I think I'm very happy with what they did with M.O.D.O.K. I don't think you could have done it any better in live action. Like, sure, maybe give him a bowl cut, but I like the connection to the first film. I thought Corey Stoll did great with it because it is silly. But yeah, I enjoyed M.O.D.O.K. Like, I'm sad we're not going to get more, but.
Speaking of taking off the mask, I do think that this film was in line with Wakanda Forever, with characters that have masks that have to take them off every time they breathe or say a line. And in the second half of Wakanda Forever, we had so many people in suits, and those suits have speakers, but for some reason they needed to take off their mask every time. So you just get this. I can just see, I bet you there's a CGI team just dedicated to, you're going to do it every time their mask comes on and off. And it kind of happened again in this film. It was like, you guys have speakers. We know who's behind it. You don't have to do it every time. And if you're going to do it every time, just leave them off. You don't have to keep on putting them back on. It's kind of redundant. But we've been delaying this enough. I think you and me and probably everybody else can agree that the star of this film was Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Loki aside, this film made me forget about Loki because it's so many more layers on Kang. This was Kang the Conqueror. I forgot what Kang was called in Loki. He wasn't Kang the Conqueror.
I forget what he was too. He was He Who Remains.
Okay. But in this film, we had calm and collected and kind of confused Kang in the beginning when he first runs into Janet. And then we have pissed off Kang when Janet, blows up his shit. And then we have Conqueror Kang. And I just thought he nailed it. This guy, I've been watching more of his films lately. Like, I just watched The Harder They Fall last night, and I can't get enough of him. He is fantastic as an actor, and he just nailed it in this movie. I really loved his performance.
Say what you will about the Marvel films, they do a great job at casting. Like, you can have your problems with the individual films, but I think who they put in these roles, especially when they're looking so far ahead. Like, Loki came out 2 years ago, but they already had him cast. as Kang, and they knew what the plan was, and I think they nailed that casting.
He's just a force to be reckoned with. He's just so, and I would be pissed that they again killed off a great villain because we didn't get enough of him in Loki to really care as much. But in this, you're like, it was like Killmonger level. He was fantastic in his portrayal, and I would be livid that the MCU once again gave us a great villain, then killed him off, if not for what we know is coming with the Kang dynasty. And whether or not he actually is dead, we're not really sure about that. But I know we're getting more Jonathan Majors, so I'm not pissed.
Yeah.
And so I could enjoy it. But he chewed it all up. He was serious. He was calm and collected. He had so many layers to him, depending on the scene. And he was intimidating as hell.
Yeah, and menacing. Like, that final fight between him and Ant-Man, like, I honestly thought that they were going to both end up dying. Like, they were both just great. Like... And it's weird seeing that side of Paul Rudd. Like, this is the guy from I Love You Man, just, like, getting the shit kicked out of him.
As he would, because I wouldn't expect him to be a great fighter. He's got elements that are helpful in a battle. That doesn't make him a great fisticuffs, know? And he definitely gets his ass beat.
And it's not like you go into the Ant-Man movie with Kang knowing, oh yeah, Ant-Man's going to win this. Like, no, he's not. Like, he's not going to, like, just flat out beat Kang. Like, it's not going to be that easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I even the scenes earlier when Scott and Cassie are in prison, and he just walks up and he says, "Hey, this is what I need you to do, and if you don't do it, I'm gonna kill your daughter." And he's just so intimidating in that scene, and he's so calm and collective, and he's just saying, "Hey, I just need you to do this. Just go do it. This is why you're here. Don't focus on anything else. Don't try to be a hero." And then when he's just so nonchalant about which Avenger were you? I've killed so many. They all blend together. I love that stuff. That was great. That was fun.
Yeah, and it made it ambitious enough. Like, I don't really follow what they're doing with this Kang. Like, is this the Kang that they're going to fight later, and this is afterwards, or what's going on there? Like, I'm not sure, and I'm kind of glad I don't know. Like, I'm glad I don't understand the timeline of Kang perfectly right now, because I want to learn more about it as it goes. So, and then you get to the post-credit scenes, and it's like, oh, okay, like, we're gonna go that way.
But then they could be digging their own hole here or their own grave here, because Kang the Conqueror is definitely a character that was massive and intimidating. And when they showed all these other versions of Kang, all I could think of is, are either of them as compelling as the Conqueror? And I was because the ones we got on screen were interesting, but they didn't seem as intimidating, and then we see a bunch of them, and you're like, is there one out there that is as good as this, or is Kang the Conqueror not really dead, and he's going to come back for vengeance, because clearly these guys don't like him, they exiled him. Is he really gone, So, I don't know where they're going with it either. And that's why I walked out of this kind of like, okay, well, that's at least it's been so long since we had more of that. This is what's coming, Loki, the end of Loki gave us that, and then this gave us that. But we haven't really She-Hulk, all the Marvels, kind of that little tag at the end, but we've even Shang-Chi with the rings post-credit scene. There still wasn't that much of a this is what's coming feeling as we got in this one, in this Ant-Man 3. And that's why I've really appreciated that.
Yeah, me too. I like my favorite moment of the ending, like, montage with Scott was him realizing, wait, is he dead? Like, he said something was coming. Did I just kill all these? Like, that realization that the threat might not be over was... Yeah,
there's a sense of dread. I like that.
Especially from an Ant-Man movie. Like, you got that a little bit at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but you also had that movie come out 2 months after Infinity War. So you go into the theater knowing, okay, this isn't going to end well for half of the population.
Yeah. But it gave you also that sense of almost like, well, this is so crazy that this impending doom that could eventually get to us. The first person and the only real person that knows about it is Scott Lang. You know, like, no more is it the Avengers and they're slowly hearing about Thanos and learning these things over films.
Yeah.
It's Scott Lang. And from the sense of it, I think there was a throwaway line of, you used to be an Avenger and then you kind of quit and now you write books. And it's like, are there any Avengers anymore? Like, do they even exist? It has been so long since us viewers saw the Avengers. I mean, it's been since Endgame, since we've seen the Avengers. Which, now in hindsight, I like that about Phase 4. I think we've talked about this in the past, that they kind of said, oh, Phase 4 will make sense down the road. I always felt like they were just pulling that out of their ass because they didn't really have a cohesiveness to Phase 4. Now, it's not... I still don't believe that they planned it that way, but you can look back at that chaos of Phase 4 and everybody being in their own separate circles as, yeah, it does feel like it's been so long since the Avengers proper have been together, and what are they going to have to do to form a team again to address this impending threat? So I do like that feeling again in the MCU.
Yeah, and you have 3 of the original Avengers like out of the mix now for good. So what if the Avengers do reassemble, what does that look like? Who's in charge? Like, I know you got a new Captain America, but like, and like, who knows what's going on with Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, like, going forward? Because I don't know if he'll be able to do it when they need him to. So
and I thought they were taking Ant-Man out at the end of this film. It definitely felt like he sacrificed himself, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, now we're going to do young Ant-Man with Cassie going forward. That's just... And then all of a sudden the portal comes up and you know, he's saved. But I wonder if there was an original version of this script where he doesn't make it.
Paul Rudd is immortal, so they would have lost me.
That's in real life. This is fiction. This is fiction.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to separate real life from fiction.
That's true.
So
I did like the wacky... I know I've seen a lot of people that are like, this is just too wacky. I did like it. I love the expansion. I mean, this in no way, shape, or form felt like the 2 previous Ant-Man films.
No.
I thought... At first I was like, this is kind of like Star Wars-esque. And then what really hit me later is this is almost a carbon copy of Tron Legacy. Down to, I mean, we have this... revolution, we have this nameless army, we've got the club scene where the betrayed, and then all of a sudden all these people come in and start shooting up the club. It's Tron Legacy, but
without the Daft Punk. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's wow. Yeah, no, you're right, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The only thing they didn't do is de-age Bill Murray to look like Jeff Bridges.
Right. But they de-aged Michelle Pfeiffer, and then they didn't, and she looks great. Michael Douglas looked great. That dude is spry for his age. He looked great in this film.
And like considering how I've seen him in interviews, like, I didn't expect him to be that spry in this.
I mean, unless they had a body double for him, but it didn't look like they did. And,
no,
but I love that he was so much a part of this film. I love that.
Yeah, he was one of the highlights for me, and he hasn't been one of the highlights for the last 2, which was nice.
And he came in and saved the day as a force to be reckoned with, which was very reminiscent of his character in What If, because... He was a villain in What If, and it was like, what if he turned bad? He could straight up take out the Avengers. He's that powerful. And so I liked seeing him having a powerful moment in this film. Again, these are things that I really did like about the film that I didn't expect to, and that's why I came out of it so pleased. I'm not saying it's a great film at all, but I thought it was a pretty darn good film, and I really liked it more than I expected to.
It's my favorite movie of Phase. It's my favorite film of Phase 5 so far. So
okay, sure. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's the only film of Phase 5.
Regardless of that, it's still my favorite so far. I mean that's going to change for in May, I believe. So
sure. But I did appreciate it. I thought it was good. I didn't expect to like it as much. And, I have not seen Love and Thunder again. And I don't think I ever really want to. It's not a film that I think will grow on me. But I actually might go see Ant-Man again this weekend with a friend that hasn't seen it yet, because I think it's worth seeing. And there are some things that I kind of want to see again. And
yeah.
There's the whole Revolution subplot thing is kind of like a little throwaway for me. But there's a lot of interesting things in here and world building things in here. And, Jonathan Majors is just having just this crazy spike in his career. I mean, I think he's in 4 films this year. It's insane. He's about to come out with Creed. That's the other thing interesting, too, that this film came out so close to Creed. Because Ant-Man came out last week and took over a lot of the premium screens. So that gave it a boost in sales, versus like Avatar. But Creed 3 is taking over premium screens next week. So Ant-Man had 2 weeks of premium screens. And now Creed's coming in. And it's also a Jonathan Majors project. So that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
back like that.
I haven't seen the first 2 Creeds, but I'm interested in seeing Creed 3 because the story seems interesting to me. Like, I really like the whole premise of the Creed films has my attention. I just haven't gotten around to watching them.
Yeah. They're so good. They're so, like, I think when the premise of Creed came up, people were like, that just sounds dumb. Don't do it. But they're so good. And Creed 3 is the first film that Sylvester Stallone's not involved in. Michael B. Jordan is directing it. And I did see another trailer tonight. I was kind of forced to watch it at the theater, and I didn't want to see it because I was afraid they might be showing too much. And it does have reoccurring characters from the first 2 films. So, FYI, if you're going to go straight into the third one, you might not understand the impact.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna before I see it, I'm gonna watch 1 and 2.
They're worth it.
Maybe
They're
not.
good films.
Maybe not all the Rockies before that, but at least 1 and 2.
Just do a Rocky week. Just do like a 24-hour. You have to watch this podcast and do all the Rocky films leading up, and then go see Creed 3. I'd join you on that. That'd be insane and awesome.
If I had time, I would, but I do not. Sadly,
Yeah.
I've got stuff to edit for the film fest that Victim of Villains is hosting here.
Oh yeah, me too.
Coming up,
I gotta
so
get some stuff done for that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I have a deadline of Tuesday though, so.
Oh great.
Yeah. Anything else Ant-Man wise we want to touch on?
I'm excited for the future. This was definitely a ballsy choice. It's definitely different, and I don't know that we'll get a 4th Ant-Man film. A lot of people are dogging on this. I don't know what the Rotten Tomatoes score is from the audience point of view. I'm not going to try to look it up because I don't want the internet to go crazy. But I feel like I've talked to enough people that went in with low expectations and came out saying, wow, I liked that more than I thought I was going to. And that is a win for me. It's a win for me. So I liked it. I want to see what comes after this, and I want to see more Jonathan Majors. And I hope they don't screw this up, because they're really building him up to be this wrecking force. And they've scored twice with them now. Third time, let's see if they can do it again.
Well, the next time we will see him is in Loki season 2, because we got a Loki scene at the end of this.
Yeah.
Which is the one thing that I did see before I went into the movie. Like, I just saw Jonathan Majors in like old timey costuming, and I was like, and then I saw Tom Hiddleston. It's like they probably just had 2 different movies and they spliced them together. It's probably just that. I was like, nope, post credit scene. But
now, I did want to ask you about that scene, because I did forget about that scene until you just brought it up. Is that... because Kang the Conqueror is specifically interested in time. So, could that be him? Or...
It could be. It very well could be. That'd be my guess, that's him.
Because don't they reference Kang the Conqueror by name in the end of Loki, season 1? Like, don't they say the Conqueror? I could have...
Yeah, I've been many things. A Conqueror, I think, was one of them. I need to go back and rewatch
Loki. It seems like such a rich version of the character to get rid of. I hope he's not dead. I hope they're like... He's the final boss that comes back. But when Loki popped up at the end, I was like, oh, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for Loki again. I can't wait for more of this. Owen Wilson's on screen again. I'm stoked. Yeah. So, yeah. Got me excited for Loki season 2, that's for sure.
Yeah. If you're watching this, I just ordered the poster that is on the screen. The purple one with Ant-Man, Wasp, and Cassie like lined up, and then Kang in the background. It's a cool poster. It's one of my favorite posters that Marvel's done as a final payoff. But the one that I have on my wall now is Kang holding Ant-Man in his fingers.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
I like that.
They did a really good job with the art on this one, which makes that Guardians poster so much more disappointing.
You really don't like that one.
I really don't.
Well, maybe the movie will win you back. Is just
I'm sure the movies doesn't have to win me with posters. The soundtrack is what matters for that. So
I'm sure we'll be good. Just by the trailers alone, they've had good music in the trailers. So yeah.
All right, I think that does it for this edition of Brilliant But Lazy. Tune in 2 weeks where we won't have a Marvel thing to talk about. We're gonna do something special. Because let me check the timing on this. Yeah, just in time for. Should we say what we're gonna do?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
throw it out there.
We're gonna have some biscuits with the boss. We're gonna be talking. We're gonna be talking some Ted Lasso. So don't be a goldfish. Remember that. Come back here in 2 weeks, and we'll be talking some Ted Lasso. And it'll be a lot of fun. I know Josh and I are both fans of it, and we haven't had a chance to geek out about the show on a podcast. And I think since Victims and Villains does do a lot with mental health, it'll be a good opportunity to deep dive into the themes and meanings of Ted Lasso on here. So tune in for that on the 11th of March. Josh,
that's the fun thing about this show. It's not just Marvel and DC stuff. It's any nerd pop culture stuff that we love, and when we have a low point and not a lot of stuff to talk about in one thing, we can just hop over to another topic. So I can't wait to do that. But if you're going to ask where they can find me, I'm out there. I'm on the internet. I'm going to be in Kansas City here in a couple weeks for Planet Comic-Con. That's going to be fun. Otherwise, you can catch me here. Future episodes of Brilliant But Lazy. That's where I'll be.
Yeah. You can find me joining Victims and Villains at GalaxyCon in Richmond, Virginia on March 25th. Josh and I will be doing a panel there on Batman and mental health at 4:00. So if you're in the Richmond area, come check us out. It'll be a lot of fun. If you're not in the Richmond area, get to the Richmond area. Come check us out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying William Shatner's going to be there, but he might be at our panel. You don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah. You never know. Beyond that, you can find me on You Have to Watch This Podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. For Brilliant But Lazy, I'm Alan.
I'm Josh, and remember, kids, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. That's our t-shirt. Don't be a dick.